preparing to live stream. That's
Yeah,
what it
it's live.
says. It
We are
says
live.
setting up your YouTube live.
It's live. I can see.
And you
I
can
can
see,
see.
is it done? Redirecting to
Yes.
YouTube. And we are live. Great.
Yes, we are live.
We are live now. So look at your sound. Make sure your sound is not interfering with the main sound. Then all good.
No, it's not. It's all good.
Great. We are live. Good
Great.
afternoon to all.
So, yes. So, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. We welcome you today in another episode when we're talking with the experts interview by Elderly Care India and 50 Plus Assets. So, in conversation with Meghna and Pankaj, I'm your host, Pragna, and I'll pass the mic to Pankaj.
Thank you, Dr. Meghna, and I'm sure it must be quite early morning in Brazil. And it is an honor for, I think, all of us to have Wayne from Singapore to come and join us for this live recording as well as on this particular season one session about dementia prevention.
Thank
This
you.
is a subject which Wayne is very close to because we have been following his work in this field. And I didn't know anyone better to get on board for a session like this across the southeastern countries. And Singapore is just being 2.5 hours crow flight distance. And more than that is, I think, ideology and the mission is somewhat quite similar. So really welcome Wayne on the show and look forward to genuinely learning from you. And just to summarize the entire thing, these sessions is not only meant for recording or for podcasts. We will be converting them into regional languages in India so that at the ground level, the people who don't know about dementia or they don't know really about the issues related to aging, they benefit. And dementia is definitely growing. So your session, we are really eagerly looking forward to and taking it forward. Thank you.
Exciting. Thank you. Thank you for introducing me.
Yeah, Wayne. So going ahead, we were very excited about, understanding, especially when it comes to dementia. People now more or less, especially those who have family members or have personal experience suffering or their own loved ones, suffering with dementia, have a lot of knowledge regarding dementia, how to manage, how to maintain people with dementia, how to organize their life, maybe calendaring their day, various aspects of dementia. So I've seen people have a lot of knowledge regarding these things, but the thing that is very less spoken about is the prevention of part of it. So now today we're very excited to talk about the prevention of dementia. There has been a lot of research now around this, and I think more needs to be spoken about the subject. So our listeners would be very excited to talk about this matter. And I would ask, like my first question to you would be, how do you think see the aging sector, functioning in Singapore, especially with respect to private, state government? So I would love to know the structure, how Singapore works, because we have with our each guest, we love to know how things work in their respective countries. Reason being, we would love to take the best out of it. So that is my first
Sure.
question to you.
Sure. So thank you for the question. I'm happy to start with that. Very important question to understand the state of affairs in Singapore. Right. So in Singapore, essentially, there is the private and the public, as with many other countries. The aged care sector kind of is a public-private framework. The private is very much, while still regulated, like the public, there's regulations, but very much not so coordinated. Whereas the public has this agency in Singapore called the Agency for Integrated Care, right? Agency for Integrated Care. In fact, I used to be from there. You can see my jacket right here, AIC there, right? So this agency is not so old. It's I think set up in officially 2011, 2009. It was a soft launch. So that's about 13 years of work, integrating anywhere from home care to center-based care to residential care, and most recently, active aging, healthy lifestyle activities, right? And obviously, the Singapore Ministry of Health oversees and funds these programs of the Agency for Integrated Care. And there are, of course, public health objectives like accessibility, affordability, quality of care for all, including older people. So that's the public. Right? The private obviously has these commercial objectives as well. So they tend to offer the premium, the tailored, the personalized, the individualized, right? You can say to the higher income groups, as well as people from outside of Singapore who are able and willing to pay for personalized services. Once again, the whole suite of home care to center-based to residential care is provided in the public as well. So, as I said earlier, well regulated still in terms of minimum care standards by the Ministry of Health, the private providers operate independently, right, without direct coordination or funding from the Agency for Integrated Care. This one from government subvention, you can say. So, in Singapore, that's the landscape. There's this, I would say, peaceful coexistence between the public and the private sector in senior care.
Okay, that's quite interesting because we are still struggling to figure out the right way to go about, which I'm sure even the developed countries are having a challenge because some of them are overdoing it, of them are underdoing it. But yes, India is a little different due to the legislative and the political structure. So we have the central government who can just give you recommendations, but eventually it has to be implemented by the state governments. So if the ruling party is not there on the state level, then it becomes a bigger challenge. So yes, there is a lot of things is there, and just as an extension, Wayne, I would like to understand what are the kind of a national standards? Are they publicized standards? Because I have been trying to do a lot of research over the past 20 years, and I saw some very good standards from Hong Kong, at least in this particular part of the world. And but somehow when it came down to Japan or Singapore or India, obviously, and the rest of the countries going forward from let's say from the Middle East and to the towards the east, except for Hong Kong, there were not too many standards which I saw, which are at least publicly available.
I see. I see. So thank you for raising this another important question here. So I guess you are right even for Singapore. When it comes to long-term and intermediate term care, there are but limited number of publicly available documentation on standards of care. Right. Now, Singapore has a great deal of documentation on standards and care procedures even and protocols when it comes to disease diagnosis. For instance, the diagnosis of stroke, the diagnosis of, say, heart illnesses, right, by a general physician, right, where on what occasions, for instance, certain medication could be or should be prescribed, on what occasions they should not, or other alternative diagnosis should be, or differential diagnosis should be considered, right? I guess even with the acute, non-long-term, non-intermediate, but just acute care, right? There is already a level of complexity today everywhere, I think, and as well as in Singapore, because of what we call multi-morbidities, right? That means coexisting or co-occurring illnesses. So each of these clinical protocols for, let's say, hypertension is for that disease, it's for that illness. But what happens when that illness comes together with this and that and that? There aren't protocols for this. At least not now, right? In the acute. So then you can now imagine what more challenging it is to have such protocols and such published documentation on standards of care for the long-term care sector, for the intermediate care sector, right? Like nursing homes. So yes, there are minimum requirements, safety especially, that is published. Beyond that, I know of what I'm more familiar with beyond that is the framework on dementia care. So there is a framework right now that kind of allows minimum care, you can say minimum clinical services to be provided for persons with dementia in Singapore. And then there are levels of proficiency, right? So beginner, intermediate, advanced, for training so that the various allied health professionals may be equipped to that level following this framework. So there is for dementia care. That I know, and I expect this to kind of be the case for other longer term illnesses. The more common ones in Singapore would be stroke. The other one would be hypertension. Yeah, for these. So yes, there are published, I would say, frameworks for these. But unfortunately, no, as you know, when it comes to care integration, beyond the clinical is the service provision, right? The service as a layer on which kind of service professionals should do what kind of clinical procedure, that kind of thing. Now we don't have that. Then, of course, on top of that, you have the organizational integration. Once again, we don't have that. Then on top of that, you have the, I guess, even what you call that cross-organizational integration. No, we don't have that. So the Agency for Integrated Care, right, that I described just now in the public sector is supposed to coordinate these. So they are still trying very hard to coordinate the ever evolving, ever increasing scope of intermediate and long-term care. So yeah, I'm not sure. Well, I'm 20 years in service. I don't know if by the time I retire, there would be something. I hope so.
No, we will make it happen. Don't worry. Across the globe, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, so
the
I hope
whole
this helps our audience understand the situation here.
Yeah, no, it really helps, in fact, being to also compare the global scenario that where we are lacking. So, because once we understand where we're lacking, is how we can improve the system in general. And it's very interesting to know how the system is working in Singapore. So, coming to the most important topic that I was really excited myself to talk about, because in India, 50 plus has been working for almost more than a decade in dementia care. And coming to the topic of dementia prevention. So I have read a lot about your trademark practices about it, and I would love you that you talk to all of us about it. You know, some of the people have just joined in the live telecast just to listen to those practices. So it would be really exciting for us to talk about that.
Sure, sure. If I may, well, just give a brief introduction. So to the topic and then why we do this. In Singapore, as with many other places, the idea that dementia could actually be prevented may not be so well known. So here, I think months ago I did a survey, a poll on LinkedIn, and how many people actually know about the fact that 45% of risk factors could be prevented. Uh, well, I have like less than 50%, right? I mean, I especially made that caveat that says before you read this post. So then more recently, last Wednesday, I had my most recent talk in the Active Aging Center, talking to about 30 seniors. And yes, less than half of them actually realized that dementia could be prevented. So that is one starting point of mine, right? There is a need for the public to know, and there are many things that one could do. Public education is one, but certainly so many other things could be done. The other thing about dementia is this, though, is that it seems like to a good number of people, it is a scary disease. The one you have it, you have it. Like you can't do much about it. No medications can help you. You're just waiting for cognitive deterioration going down. Just waiting for, if you're a caregiver or family member, you just kind of think that, well, when would my dad or my mom become so forgetful he doesn't remember my name, or put the keys in the refrigerator, brings the chopper into the bed and get into danger, right? So there's this, I guess, worry that it's such terrifying disease because after decades of neurological and neuropharmacological research, there isn't a cure. And that is true. Right. Today, the latest medication for dementia, to my knowledge, is lecanemab. And that has serious side effect to the point of death. Right? It came from the US, right? In fact, before lecanemab, they had quite a number of different drugs, right, that the FDA in the US approved. And now the most recent one that seems to kind of be better than the others in the past few years, still nevertheless carries a risk of more than 10% death. In fact, 1% in medical terms is already high, right? So 10% is high, you know. Surgery is much less than 1%, right? In terms of safety, risk. So, so that's the second thing we're dealing with, that people believe that once you get it, that's it. But unfortunate statistic, and that's the last one.
the WHO publishes the report that actually 1 in 3 above 85 is likely to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and dementia is a part of Alzheimer's. In Singapore, the statistics is 1 in 11 out of among people who are 60 years old and above, right, are potentially diagnosed with dementia or living with dementia. That's 1 in 11, right? And that was based on results published last year, 2024. It's a comprehensive national survey that we have. So these reasons kind of tell me that, look, it is a condition that affects many, not just the sufferer, but also the family members. So if we think that we won't be so unlucky to be the 1 in 3 or 1 in 11, then okay, then we are a caregiver. Which is better? It's hard to say, right? I was a caregiver when I was 21. When I was 21, I knew nothing about caregiving, and I just went into it because I want to help my mom care for my grandmother. So my mom was depressed. So I start to learn from scratch things like pushing the wheelchair, bathing her, assisting her from the wheelchair to the shower, cleaning her body naked, and I learn how to manage the frustrations I feel along the way. Then after my grandma passed on, some years later, my mom became cancerous, and then I cared for her. And thereafter, when she passed on, just 2 months later, my dad had a series of mini strokes, transient ischemic attack, and he I think was frail for about a year before he passed on. So, I would not say that caregiving is a bed of roses, and because of my personal experience. However, I realized that if I feel any pleasantness, if I feel that it's so stressful caring for each of these 3 people and learning from them, from my experiences, then I would say caregivers for dementia patients may have it worse than me. So when I realized that, I said, okay, then we must do something for these folks. We have to do something for these folks because potentially they would enter a very, very highly acutely challenging situation without warning. Right? What can we do for them? 2 things. One is we help them care better. The other is we help them prevent. So right now, neuroscientists are actually betting that in the future, a safer drug than lecanemab, a more comprehensive pharmacological as well as non-pharmacological drug, non-pharmacological intervention would actually be preventative rather than curative. Right? Because the nature of Alzheimer's disease is that there's this buildup of the amyloid beta in the brain. That's the nature of it. And once it crosses a certain threshold, it's no good taking care anymore. The whole area is so-called infected or diseased. You see, but however, if human beings are able to create new neurons through the process called neuroplasticity, through learning, conditioning, and many other methods, lifestyle activities, then one can potentially still kind of lose neurons due to amyloid deposition and amyloidosis or activity, but continue to produce new neurons through learning to offset this depletion, right, so to speak. And so that's what excited me in the recent years, the last 2 to 3 years. I realized that right now, these folks, it'll be much better to help them prevent. And in fact, I need to prepare for my own aging. I can do the same for myself. Prevent rather than enter into a diagnosed state and be subject to the chance of 1 in 3 when I'm 85 or 1 in 11 when I'm 60. Why not prevent first? Why not do what I can on a day-to-day basis, especially if that's not costly in terms of finance or otherwise, especially if I'm already a part of lifestyle, I can be in charge of these things. So that is really the reason, I would say, collectively, right? My personal caregiving experiences, my personal sympathies with caregivers who have it worse, dementia caregivers, and the statistics and all the pain and all the failed research that has been done in the pharmacological aspects when it comes to curing or trying to cure dementia has made me move into dementia prevention. And therefore, the program that you talked about, Defy Dementia, is really a dementia prevention or cognitive health or brain health enhancement program.
That's very
Oh, that's
exciting
great.
because you very rightly said that dementia doesn't only affect the person. Personally, I feel that it's a social epidemic that is spreading across, and it's not only just affecting the individual but the whole family. And I mean, very well agreeing to the points that once the amyloid plaques are made, though we have apparent drugs these days, the new latest drugs which are binding to the plaques and try to work with that. But once it has crossed a certain threshold, there is no going back. There is no going back. So I think prevention here, I think research and more details into prevention is one thing I feel that can really help. And especially when we talk about neuroplasticity, when we talk about, how new pathways can be made, simple skills like highly recommended, like learning a new language, or maybe to start eating with the non-dominant hand, some simple practices, I have realized also, like in my career, that we've been recommending people how to help them. I think that's another very interesting fact that you spoke about, that we
Indeed.
really resonate with. My question to you would be, see, yes, we are talking about all these things, and we've also observed that dementia is now becoming more common with the people who are caring for patients with dementia. Now that that second generation is coming in, those who have been carer for people with dementia, they are the ones suffering with, which have a more possibility or more percentage of suffering with dementia themselves. I don't know if it can be. I mean, I have been reading a lot of research papers around it, but it can be due to the caregiver stress that they have gone through in their life, or maybe just because they belong to the same family, or genetically there is a predisposition towards it. So a lot of factors I feel about it that may be, kind of moving situation. So my question to you would be, Wayne, what do you think about a caregiver? Let's say today I'm a caregiver. Personally, I have been a caregiver for my own granny who had dementia. And it almost, they say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to take care for somebody with dementia. That is my learning behind it. So it's not one person job. It is certainly not one individual, themselves, that can take care of everything. And certainly we need a lot of help around it. So what are your tips, practical things that you feel somebody who has somebody in their family, suffering with dementia, or they have a loved one that they're caring for dementia, can do to kind of preserve their own mental sanity and kind of protect themselves, prevent themselves from having dementia?
Mhm. Right. Wow. Okay. Um, Actually, there are many. Some of these things we already have come in touch with in our day-to-day life, but may not recognize that as a brain health or a dementia prevention technique. Um,
Mm.
hmm. Uh, if there is 2 minutes, maybe I can do a demonstration even here via Zoom. And
Oh yes, let's
if
let's do
Pankaj
that.
and Dr. Mingna, if you can kind of just engage with me here on Zoom, you know.
Would be
Um,
wonderful. This is what we want.
yeah, okay. So okay, great. So I usually, okay, background is I usually use this demonstration to kind of illustrate the point about actually what one could do. And it kind of will be quite self-explanatory after this demonstration about what one could do and why. So let me just you can share screen with us. That would be great. Let me just do a quick share screen here. What I like us to do is now I'm going to show us like how many words? 15 words on the screen. I'll give you 1 minute, no more than 60 seconds. And if Pankaj and Dr. Migna, you can join me, you just take out a piece of paper or your phone and right once the time is
Yeah.
up, try to remember write down as many as you can remember. That's about.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
and I'll
Do
explain
that.
why later. Okay, and if there are
Okay.
others online right now on YouTube, you want to join in, feel free to join in. I'll explain why we do this. Right, just 15 words. I'll read and show. Don't do anything first. Once I finish, and then I say go or time starts now, then please then try to remember if that's okay with everybody.
That sounds interesting. Very
Good.
interesting.
Very
Okay,
interesting. Let's
let
go
me
ahead.
now try to share screen first. Okay, so let me make sure you can see my screen that has a word there. Do you see my screen? It says
Yes.
ready.
No. No. Starting.
Okay.
It's going
Hang
to
on.
be in a moment. I think we can see.
Okay, hang on. Let's see if you can see my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. It says ready, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So I will show the words, I will read the words, and I'll give 1 minute. Okay. Here
right.
we go. Here are the words: sour, honey, bitter, heart, tooth, nice, sugar, chocolate, taste, tart, candy, soda, good, cake, pie. All right, you have 1 minute, as many as you can remember. Write down,
Okay.
put it on your
We write it down.
phone. Yes, write it down so we can kind of see what
All right.
words you get, right? Write down
Mhm.
on your phone or on a paper or somewhere. And those online on YouTube or on Zoom, feel free to join in. Just give it your best shot. It's okay not to be perfect. Okay, about 30 seconds more. Usually this is the time when there's kind of, you're a bit dry, but you can probably still squeeze out one more. You just squeeze your brain a little bit. Just that last one or two, about 15 seconds more. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. All right. Okay. Just between Pankaj and Dr. Mrigna, right? How do you think you did out of 15?
Pathetic.
Oh, poor. Not so good, but
Make a
I
guess.
think I could, if I'm not wrong, I think I could do 12 of them, 10, 12.
12
I think, yeah.
of 15. Okay. How about Pankaj?
5.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. You're very humble there. Okay. How about this? I'm going to give us another minute to do another new list of words, same instructions. I believe the
Okay.
second one will be, you'll do better. So Pankaj, you probably get more than 5. And Dr. Mingna, you might even get full score. If let's say you give your best shot.
Okay.
Okay, let's try that. Later on, we'll
Okay,
compare the scores and I will explain why there's this need to compare. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
The next 1 minute. So please don't write anything first. Don't play cheat. Once I finish reading and showing, then try to remember. Right,
Yeah,
here
please.
we go. All right, here we go. The words are pillow, dream, nap, blanket, bed, rest, night, drowsy, darkness, yawn, tired, mattress, relax, snore, quiet. You have 1 minute.
Okay.
As many as you can. And those on YouTube, please feel free to join in. Hopefully you get a better score in the second trial than the first one. About 30 seconds. About 20 seconds. Squeeze out that last word if you can. Just a bit more. And all should be good. Last few seconds now. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, time's up. All right. Okay. So do you, Pankaj and Dr. Mingna, believe that your second trial will be better? Yes?
Oh, like
At least
one by
slightly?
one word. By one word. Yes.
By one.
Even
Okay.
I got only one more. I got 6 of them.
You got one more. Oh, I see. I see. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'm going to show you the answers now. Okay, here are the answers.
Yeah.
See how much you get for each of the two trials. On the first
Yeah.
list and the second list. Those online, you can type in the chat
12 and
on YouTube.
13.
Okay,
Respectively.
great. Dr. Mingna got 12 and 13. And Pankaj, what do you get?
I got 6. No, I didn't need to look
Both.
at it. Yeah.
You got 6 correct for both.
I got
I
5 for the
5
first and
and
6 for the second.
Oh, all right, correct? All 5 and all 6 correct. Huh? All right.
Excellent. Now, question for all of us is this. On the first list, do you have the word sweet or sweetness?
No, you didn't
No?
have.
Pankaj? No? Okay. On the second list, did you wrongly put the word sweet or sweetness?
No.
No,
No? Okay, great.
no.
On the second list, do you wrongly put the word sleep?
Yes, I did.
You did. Okay. No, you did. And Pankaj?
No.
No. Okay, so great. Thank you very much. Those are the words. So it looks like for Dr. Mrigna, your 13 words, right? You had a 14th sleep. Is that right? On the
Yes.
second list?
Yeah, that was the
All right,
14th word I wrote, but that's not the correct one, of
Okay.
course. It's not there
And
because everything is, I think, about sleep. Possibly that's why my mind felt it's about sleep.
absolutely. That's the point actually I wanted to make here. So basically this slide I usually use to kind of share with the folks who come to my class, to my training, that actually research has shown that there is zero association between the feeling of one's certainty about the memory, like sleep or sweet, right? And the actual accuracy of that memory. And this is exactly the reason, right? Is as Dr. Mrigna said, that because all those words are all those items, they are about this thing. So we assume that word is there, right? Somehow our brain
Correct.
tricked us to believe that. It makes us
Correct.
feel so sure because all 15 words are about sleep, and the first list, all 15 words are about sweet or sweetness.
Sweet
You
things.
see,
Yeah.
this works much better when it's a live in-person audience. I get like 3/4 of people actually having sleep on the second list and sweet on the first list
First list.
because of the engagement. And how this works for dementia prevention, okay, I'll stop sharing here, is that we actually could train our brain by learning many things about one thing. So that when we forget these other small little parts about that one thing, there's still other information about that one thing that can allow us to detour the wreckage caused by amyloidosis, amyloid deposition, and stroke, or whatever caused dementia. So, for instance, today, people here online know me as Dr. Wayne, right? Wayne Freeman Chong, right? But some of them who have taken my class may know that I'm also a geropsychologist. Then my students in the university might remember the title, the module code, HP3303, let's say. Right. Some of them who have journeyed with me in the social services may also know that in the earlier days, I also teach and practice meditation, mindfulness meditation. Right. So here are 4 things to know about me. Let's say right now, amyloid deposition or stroke related dementia has kind of killed the cells that make us remember 3 things about me. There's still one thing, So if let's say dementia has caused that person to not forget my name, not remember my name, not remember that I'm a geropsychologist, and not remember even the course code that he or she used to take as my student. But if the person still has one more memory about the fact that I practice mindfulness meditation, then he or she might still be able to say after 10 years, look, there's this guy who used to practice mindfulness meditation and who shared on something, but I forgot who he is or his name, but if he shows up, I'll remember. That's exactly the train your brain technique or cognitive stimulation that is very useful, not only for people with diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment or mild dementia, but even for us as healthy individuals, especially people in their midlife, I would say, the 40s, the 50s, people in this, right? This is because activities that allow us to learn many things actually stimulate the production of new neurons, forming new neural pathways, new neural connections. And if all these new neural pathways and connections is kind of about one same topic or content, what you call semantically aligned, then it's okay if one or two or several of these neural pathways die because of dementia, because of Alzheimer's, because of stroke, Parkinson's. It's okay because the semantic memories, that means the meaning, is still retained. That's the beauty of neuroplasticity, isn't it? We have trillions of neurons to work with. So even if a million dies off, we still have millions and billions to work with. That's just amazing. So
No, that's
this
amazing,
demonstration.
Dr. Wayne. I think it's an amazing thing, and in fact, I would really like to understand as per matlab, how what kind of suggestions or what kind of vision do you think will help in dementia prevention, and what can be done which can filter down to the care home level, home care level, and individuals themselves?
Ah,
So I think you're thinking about service provision and systems. Okay,
No,
okay.
what I'm saying is
Sure.
that how do you foresee any kind of solutions of what people should be aware of, the basic awareness level at the grassroots level, at the
okay.
at the service level. So both as a
Ah,
home, what do I need to know how to do prevention, and in case I'm under institutional care, then what should the staff know? Both of them.
I see. Okay. Right. So let's talk about in general what people should know. I think there should be home-based digital cognitive training available. Right. So if you're not in institutional care, if you're at home, even if you're not under care, if you're just at home, like most of us would be, right? I think there should be online platforms, apps that could provide the very kind of cognitive training that I've just demonstrated here, right, to everybody, right? So that usually means digital games, let's say, different kind of games, puzzles, right, advanced Sudoku, right? So yes, maybe even learn a musical instrument and play it on the app on the computer. Yes, right. So I think home-based digital cognitive education or digital cognitive training should be made available to all, whoever is at home. For those who are with community care services, the person usually have two or more conditions, right? Then I think it is necessary to embed or incorporate dementia risk reduction activities into existing programs. No need to change existing programs entirely, right? But add say a 10%. So for instance, in Singapore, there is a kind of a nationwide falls prevention program that happens in almost every active aging center. So the idea is that frail people tend to fall, and when they fall, they get into many other problems. So we want to prevent them from even falling the first time. And if they have fallen once, they will be very anxious, right, or worried to do many things, and then that increases actually the risk of fall. Now, great. So while educating on false risk and the self-fulfilling prophecy of false related anxiety, one could actually embed dementia risk reduction in there. How? Resistance training, resistance band, for instance, breathing exercises, relaxation exercises, physical activities. All these actually overlap between, say, falls prevention and cognitive health. Because what is good for the heart actually is good for the brain. Physical activity is good for the brain and it's also good for falls prevention, for instance. So that's the second one. The third one, I think we need to train caregivers. And I mean both the professional caregivers and the home-based or family caregivers. Right. For the professional caregivers, I believe it would be in, say, residential settings to recognize the signs of dementia, to improve or increase or enhance the stimulation in the physical and the social environment, which also, that I guess also means that a lot of communication training should be done with these caregivers in the care setting, in the residential care. So with a person with moderate to advanced dementia, you cannot just talk like that. You got to say, for instance, wait for a certain lucid moment. You got to engage that person with something that clicks, and you will know when that person clicks. You got to make all the various small little micro steps like eye contact, maybe even physical touch and posture and voice intonation, all these micro things, right? That is for the professional. Thing is, this requires certain proficiency that's beyond what is usually provided residential care. So that's the gap, or I can say that is the challenge. For family caregivers, what my agency have tried to do is to teach this course or this program called How to Talk to Your Stubborn Elderly at Home. So, I mean, this is not the only thing that they can learn, but what I'm saying is that home caregivers or family members can also learn to have nurturing interactions with their older people. Even if that older person is not diagnosed with any dementia or any risk or any related illnesses, the nurturing interactions that usually promotes connection and acceptance, that usually promotes autonomy, that promotes what do you call healthy expectations of performance of various physical functions and activities actually helps the older person at home delay the onset if there is going to be an onset. Right. And the last thing I would say is what we know now in some parts of the world is called dementia-friendly communities. This is something that is championed by it's part of the UN SDG right now, Sustainable Development Goals, and WHO is championing this in many developing and developed places. In Singapore, it probably means developing neighborhood networks, right? Physical network as well as the social network, so that people could mingle. And when they mingle, there's safe space. And then people could connect with a part of themselves when they're younger days. So then they retrieve memories. That is one way to stimulate the brain. Then there's also the other connection about connecting with other people. So then there's this forming new connections, forming new neural networks. So I believe these four things. So home-based digital cognitive training, integrate community care services, integrate with existing community care services, training both professional and home-based caregivers, and dementia-friendly communities. I think these are four ways that if implemented, if done holistically, we will actually see an overall uplift in the prevention efforts and probably reduction in decline cognitive.
Very well put. I think you have summarized what needs to be done at the country level, at the government level, as well as the society level. So really interesting to get that perspective, because the subject is so large and vast that definitely we can't do justice in a particular single episode. So definitely we'll have to take it in a multiple episodes and touch base, because something which I want to talk in the next session with you, which I was just thinking, was to understand the abuse of dementia people, because that is what I have seen is a very serious thing, especially in care homes, so memory care homes in UK and in the developed nations, because they are the ones who can't really speak out that they have been abused. So, and obviously in India also. So once we talk about that particular subject with you in the next episode, that will be a very insight discussion, which is a reality which most of us do not really talk about. So that's good. And Dr. Meghna, you have a question about the thing?
Pankaj, honestly, it has been very interesting. We have spoken with Wayne about family, caregiving involvement. He has spoken very amazingly about that, about a cultural uh, insights into the situation, how we're working around with the communities and, putting it on the groundhood level, the grassroots level. And public policy also we've spoken about. So my question to Wayne, that my final question would be, though we don't want to let him go, but it would be to talk about the future outlook. What do you
Right.
think? What are the innovations, research, or direction that excite you when it comes to future and dementia prevention?
Right, I see. Okay. Currently, I'm really excited about non-pharmacological interventions in dementia prevention. Simply because many people here in Singapore and around me just don't like to take medicines. Just think that I guess I see this phenomenon
I think
increasing
it's a
after
very Asian thing, Wayne. It's a very
Yes.
Asian thing that Asians don't like
Yes,
medicine.
Yes, it's very Asian and it's also global because of COVID vaccination. We actually don't really know until today what has gone into our bodies, right? The vaccine seems to have kind of stopped the COVID from kind of multiplying, right? Very fast, but right? So it's these two factors. So I am interested in exploring what really are these non-pharmacological ways. Currently, because I'm also a psychologist, one thing that really intrigued me at the moment is this what we call the multi-domain lifestyle interventions. Multi-domain meaning there's the social domain, the cognitive, there's the emotional, and there's the person-to-person interaction and so on. Right? And lifestyle, because we can do this almost free of charge on a daily basis at our own free time, totally safe and in natural ways. So no medication required. Don't even have to see a doctor. Don't even have to be part of the health system, the medical system. So there is a body of literature that is growing right now in this area called multi-domain lifestyle interventions. Well, just briefly, the four main ones that four main domains or four main areas that have been found by scientists to have efficacy in dementia prevention are physical activity increase, nutrition, better sleep, and vascular management. I mean, managing of other chronic illnesses like heart conditions. Did I miss out any? I think these are the four. This is because in midlife, so somebody from say 35 years old to about 60, these form about a close to 35% of the risk factors for dementia, right? So this is why this is very important. And many of these conditions on their own, that means the vascular conditions like high blood pressure, high blood sugar levels, and high cholesterol, the bad cholesterol actually kind of starts to surface in one's life around the midlife, right? So while I myself am at risk, I also realize that this is something that can help me to better age, right? So I see that in the future, we will get more evidence on how to personalize these lifestyle multi-domain interventions for ourselves and for our loved ones. At the moment, it is still one size fits all. That means to say that you go to a center or you go to a residential care or you participate in some national program, right? And you're one of 30, you're one of 50, you're one of 20 attendees, right? And then you engage in some exercise and then you get some advice. All these are general. Things like choose between the Mediterranean diet and the keto diet. That's general, right? Things like when it comes to improve sleep, check your sleep hygiene. No phones in the room. Don't do your TikTok or social media 30 minutes to 60 minutes before bed, right? That's still general advice. Great. I mean, the thing is, even right now, that's very useful because many of us don't even know. That's great. But I see a need to personalize this in the future. This is because, especially in the Asian context, we have lots of diverse cultural practices in Asia. From the eastern side to the western side of Asia, from the northern side to the southern sides of Asia. We have lots of languages, right? We have in Asia, lots of religions or faith-based practices. We certainly have no one-size-fits-all Asia culture. No, there's no such thing. It won't be possible, right? So that means to say that what might work for some people might not work for others. What might be preferred as part of a life, as part of an appropriate cultural day-to-day living for some, in India, in Singapore, might not be suitable for those in, say, Indonesia, in some of the provinces, in, say, the Philippines, or in China, for example. So I would say that going into the future, personalized multi-domain lifestyle intervention would be more developed and would be kind of the main thing. So I think there are three things that will go into a personalized multi-domain lifestyle intervention. The key would be motivation training. So those of us who like to be a couch potato and watch Netflix and watch television, how do we get out of the couch? How do we get the motivation? Those of us who like to eat junk food and McDonald's, right? And that's great. In fact, McDonald's now have the nutritional chart with the pyramid and blah, blah. That's great today than 20 years ago. But still, how do we eat more nutritiously than how do we motivate ourselves? How about things like smoking cessation, appropriate alcohol consumption, better sleep, all these lifestyle things? How do we motivate ourselves in a way that motivates me, that works for me, right? But that may not work for somebody else because his or her motivator might be totally different, right? So I would say that motivation is one big component that will be dealt with, that will be addressed in personalizing multi-domain lifestyle intervention for dementia prevention. The second one will be what we did in the demonstration, cognitive training. Sure, today we say learn new musical instruments and play them, learn new languages. We say read a book. We say interact with people. Still, these are generalized, right? Reading a book may not pertain to everybody. What if I'm not so literate? What if I just don't like to read book? In fact, I can just personally share that actually I don't really like to read book. I have not read a fiction for a long time. For at least a decade. And when it comes to reading journal articles, I only read from end to end in those articles that I want to cite. I just be honest with you. So in many other articles that I read, I may go for the result section first and then the methods, and then I'll see whether I'll go on. Right? I don't read from end to end. I don't know about other scientists, but that's me. Okay. So I would say that cognitive training, right, once again has to be personalized, whether it's working memory, whether it's episodic, semantic, numerical processing, language, and then language in Asia, there's so many language, exactly what language. And then we also need to have language-free assessment tools and risk tools so that people who cannot verbalize and enunciate a certain word can still nevertheless be tested for mild cognitive impairment, right? So using, say, visual cues, for instance. So I really think that there's a lot to be done in personalizing cognitive stimulation or cognitive training. The last thing I would say is reminiscence or sharing our stories. Almost all the seniors I work with, they love to share their stories. It's just with
Oh,
who.
yes.
Very true.
Some of them don't like to share with me. That's okay. They can share it. I tell them they can share with the others, right? Some of them are shy, not in a big group. That's okay. Can be a small group or can it be a one-to-one, right? Almost all the seniors love to share their stories. And there's this thing about sharing stories that's beautiful scientifically. And that is that we connect with a person's older or past self. Actually, that's memory, right? Think about it. When I share my story, I'm trying to remember what I did some years ago or some decades ago, right? Even if it's just one episode around my, say, my caregiving for my grandmother, how, let's say, I was so angry one day, frustrated, I pushed her and she fell and I broke her jade bracelet and I felt so sad and down and thought I was a useless grandson. But in me saying this, I'm actually trying to recall and I start to connect with a part of myself that I thought I never connected with. You see, what more these older people? How many more stories do they have than us, than me? The other thing about sharing stories is that we connect with one another. So I share it with you now, Pankaj and Dr. Meghna. You learn something about me. Then it makes you want to share something about you to me. Endearing or endearment. So I see that the third thing, therefore, that will help personalize dementia prevention efforts in the future would be this sharing of stories. That this is kind of how to share, what to share, in what occasion to share, to whom to share, and so on and so forth. I believe we'll have more clarity in the future as to what works in an individualized basis. So three things really that I see in dementia prevention efforts, all in the umbrella of what we call multi-domain lifestyle interventions. First one would be motivation. Second one, cognitive training. And the third one, sharing stories. Right now, the evidence for the efficacy of each of these three is emerging but limited. Bulk of the evidence currently is on the actual four main activities that I described to you, the lifestyle activities, the eating right, the sleeping right, the moving your body right, right, and managing your chronic illnesses or vascular diseases. That is gold standard currently. However, we know that only less than half of the people benefit from this because it's so generalized, not personalized. People just are not motivated. Right? So I see in the future, there is a great room to personalize by incorporating cognitive training, incorporating motivational strategies, and sharing of stories. And in fact, these three are right now what I do in my Defy Dementia, Define Your Destiny program that you see on my LinkedIn and the company that I lead. Essentially, we are trying to use these cutting edge technologies and knowledge, and right, although the evidence is still emerging, right? We're trying to share, teach, train people around us on these so that by the time there is greater technology, right, these things can be scaled. Right. Currently, we are also trying to, in fact, do a miniature prototype scaling of some of these things with technology companies. And I really see that there's so great room, not just in Singapore, but in a lot of part of Southeast Asia and Asia in general to do this, especially for the communities that are harder to reach. So I guess Pankaj, it would be those in the villages, in those places that speak a different dialect, right? Yes, we need to personalize for these folks. In those hard to reach islands in Indonesia, we need to personalize for these folks, right? In those mountainous areas in China, we need to personalize for these folks. We are totally not there yet. I tell myself I have maybe up to 20 more years to my retirement. I really hope to see by then that some of these communities are being reached out to. God willing.
I think, Wayne, I think it's been a very interesting session. And the more I'm talking to you, my dead gray cells are coming out from the grave and saying, okay, one last day, give it to us, and we will try to do something. So one was the abuse part, which I spoke to you about dementia abuse, because that is a subject which is very close to me. And that is, I was a little on the phone trying to figure out the names. I think between the three of us, between 50 plus assessed of their experience in India, as well as Brigna being in Brazil, you being in Singapore, we being there, I would actually like to take it to a little different level to do a kind of a study and to understand uh, the a little offbeat thing, which how does a lie detector work on a dementia person? How does a polygraphy test work on a dementia? That is one. Second
Okay.
is I want to know how does a narco analysis work on a dementia person?
Wow.
When you
Wow.
give an
Wow.
injection, how do they react?
That's very interesting, Pankaj. Honestly, I've been working for more than a decade. I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
Very
How to
interesting.
detect lie, right?
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
And
so
how
I
does
want to
narco?
Right.
understand. We
Right.
want to just figure out what are the laws to it, or if any laws should be there, or
Right.
so one is narco analysis and one is the lie detector of polygraphy. These are two parts, and second part is I want to understand if we can get a kind of a poll from family members who have dementia, who have come across dementia parents or friends or thing. Uh,
Mm,
what was the actual nature of the person? Was he short tempered, or was he spiritually inclined, or
mm,
was he a very happy person, or was he an
right.
alcoholic, or was he a druggie? So just wanted to understand what was the actual nature of it. What percentage of people actually land up with dementia more in those four five different
Okay.
brackets?
Okay. I see. Sounds like research. Is that what you
Yeah,
are
sort of a
thinking?
kind of a
Okay.
understanding research.
Yes.
See, these things don't take time. Probably just have to shoot out the five, six options and send it to your own WhatsApp group. So that will probably start triggering a lot of insights as to,
Right,
besides the
right,
health part,
right,
that okay, he was walking 10 kilometers or he was eating right or not. So I'm just
right.
with
So,
your bandwidth
uh,
and Rigna's bandwidth and our volunteer group, so let's do something more creative, because rest of the
Hmm.
things the rest of the kids can do the research.
Hmm. We can start a Google form, a Google document, and
yes,
then
that's amazing,
people could
right?
just all over the world
Correct,
could be send the link, right? All over the world, and
correct,
somebody
correct,
just need to
correct.
host the database that is behind the back end of the Google form.
Yes,
And
Yeah.
well,
because
okay, but
I
then I
don't know.
guess yeah,
I don't. Whatever I see on the movies and probably from the research, uh, I really don't see too many criminals having dementia.
right. That's
Yes.
because they are
Is it
in
is
the
it because of a
penal
certain reason
institutions.
or what?
Yeah, yeah, possibly not on the streets, Pankaj, but I don't know. It's-
I
No,
see.
I'm just
Okay.
saying that
Yes, yes, yes.
that mental outlook probably has a lot to do with dementia.
yeah.
Yeah, one
Uh,
of my sympathies actually is with I won't say dementia, but with just people aging behind bars.
yeah.
Convicted persons who are serving time, who are aging, say beyond 65, 75. At least in Singapore, I know that there is no dedicated facility to care for these folks. They are just serving time as with any other person serving time in Singapore.
Yeah. I
So
think
whether they
same
develop
same with
dementia
most of
or
the countries, we same with most of the countries since
yeah,
they're frowned upon in our society. So I don't think most of
yeah,
the countries or societies have any dedicated mental health facility or anything for them. That's a
So
yeah.
fact.
that's what I'm saying. It's a long way to go. Probably we don't have the data also as to how many people land up with dementia once
Right.
they are in the prisons. So,
Yeah. At least I know that the Singapore authorities do not publish these. They probably don't even collect data on this.
so
Yeah.
idea is that when you want to
Yeah.
address a dementia subject, you can't just look it from a particular aspect of it. It has to be
Indeed.
out of the box thinking and collect information which just might land up and give you a kind of different insight.
Honestly, like in
Indeed.
50 plus, we have been working on this research paper where we have been collecting data now for a very long time about pre and post personality changes, especially like, in fact, we have now, it's not yet published, the paper, we're still on it. But for example, we have realized most of the seniors that we are we have worked with dementia have been very intellectual all their life, very active all their life, but had like an emotional setback before the whole process triggered. So, which is very interesting for us while we are doing. I'm not saying it's all 100% cases that we know of, but in many cases that we have been working around with. So, these are interesting facts, and I feel like Pankaj suggested, making a research and a data about it, like Wayne suggested, just like a Google form for people or families who have been caring for somebody with dementia to fill. I think can be a wonderful thing. I'm sorry, we are going all off topic about this, but you know,
No, we're on Pankaj topic, not off topic.
yeah, right.
I would be very interested in the incarcerated, imprisoned people, older people, whether it's dementia or other conditions. Dementia
Yeah.
certainly prevention. Yeah, I just don't have my hands on the data, and access control is a big barrier
Big
there.
issue, I believe.
You
Yeah.
know, and I haven't even begin to talk to the prison authorities about this. Although I know one, in fact, I'm close in touch with one prisoner person whom I write to regularly. He tells me that it is not easy to age in prison. Yeah, and there's no caregivers there besides the prison warders, the officers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I think it
yeah,
was great. Yeah, it was really nice, and I'm sure once we do the editing and take out my uh, weird ideas, the entire interview will probably come out reasonably very, very well. And so,
right.
yeah. So Meghna, I'll hand it
So,
over to you. I think to conclude the session.
no.
It's a great.
So thank you first of all. No, it has been wonderful idea indeed, and I think no idea is stupid. Every idea is intelligent because it brings out some new thought processes. That's what I learned from Wayne's session today. So if me learning those 10 extra words makes a new, correlation in my brain, so no idea is going to wane, you know.
Great.
So
Thank
I think
you.
it's a wonderful learning. Thank you so much, Wayne, for being there with us today. I think personally, on a personal level, I have learned a lot during this session, and not only in terms of just the work we do, but also the perspective and outlook and the excitement about learning something new, creating something new. This is something really amazing, Wayne, that I found out while we were conversing about various subjects. So thank you so much for that. And thank you, Pankaj, always for your wonderful ideas, some new things bringing fresh energy into the old conversations that, just go about. So thank you so much, Pankaj, for that. Indeed, a wonderful session for all of us.
Thank you, Dr. Meghna, and once again, thank you, Wayne. It was really an honor to have you on board. And with this, I think we'll close this particular session recording. Okay.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you,
Namaste.
Pankaj. Thank you.
Right.
Thank
God
you. Thank
bless.
you. Thank you, Dr.
Thanks, everyone.
Vigna. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. I'm gonna
Bye.
turn the recording off.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you. All right.
thanks. Bye.
Okay. So thank you, everybody online. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Recording will stop.